Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now Anthony Joshua recently done a YouTube video for his channel and he was speaking about the Kubrat Pulev win and going into the Tyson Fury fight, and he explained the mindset he has going into his fights and particularly the Tyson Fury fight. He also explained this: we're not civilized people, we're warriors, and I love it. Some people may not understand and realise in this life is that 99% of the population are civilized people. The job I have chosen is for the uncivilized. This sport is for combat and war. We're not civilized people, we're warriors. No matter what the tactics are, no matter how much you study, no matter how much you think you can beat me, I'm just there to win. I'm there to do a job, and that's a fighter's mentality. So there we go, that is what Anthony Joshua has said about going into the Tyson Fury fight and his kind of mental standpoint from where he approaches these fights from. Now, of course we know that it takes something special to get in the ring in front of all of those people and to fight someone else. That takes someone quite special to be able to stay calm under that kind of pressure. That could be quite important in this undisputed fight also, but it does tell us that Anthony Joshua is ready and he's preparing himself mentally as well as physically for this fight, because boxing is mostly mental. Now, what that can also mean is about keeping it simple in the ring. I know that sounds crazy, but it is, because if you look at what Canelo is able to do, the fighter who is a super middleweight champion, he just beat Callum Smith quite recently, and in that performance, he didn't seem like he shifted through the gears. He was able to control Callum Smith and do anything he wanted to. He got away with it. Callum Smith could not answer because Canelo was in control, but he didn't seem nervous. He didn't seem like he was burning any nervous energy at all. He was in control. He'd done exactly what he wanted when he wanted. That is something that I believe Anthony Joshua is looking to do, because he said as much in one of his interviews, that he sees Canelo the way he can slow things down and to see things the way they are. That can be very difficult to do in that kind of environment. Maybe like when there's no one there or in sparring, that might be easier to do, but when there are 30,000 fans, sometimes as much as 90 for Anthony Joshua, then things change. Being reckless and impulsive starts to come into it a lot more, so I think what Anthony Joshua is looking to do is to slow things down, slow his mind down to make sure that he's doing the things he needs to, going through the motions in the ring and not burning any nervous energy. That is something that Canelo has mastered over his career, because Canelo, he did have a good gas tank in his early career, but nothing compared to what he has now, which is very interesting. Now, we can say, okay, he's changed his training, he's done this, he's done that. Well, yes, that is a factor, but there is also the mental side of it as well. What does Canelo do in the ring? When he was younger, he was more reckless, more impulsive, whereas now, he slows things down, and he breaks them down. So he knows what he needs to do in order to exploit the weaknesses of his opponent, but not just that, to take away his strengths, because that arm from Callum Smith, that was his left hook, his catch-counter left hook, the one he is so renowned for, and probably his best shot. So what does Canelo do? He works on taking that away, working in those punches to that arm, so that it's going to be sore, so that it's going to be numb going through the fight, because Canelo even asked him going into the 12th round, this was confirmed by Callum Smith, he asked him, is it sore? So he was clearly targeting that part of Callum Smith's body so he could start breaking him down, and then he could start working to Callum Smith's weaknesses as well, after taking the strengths away. Now that is a carefully considered game plan, executed by someone who is calm in the ring, like Canelo. And it is also very important to not get emotionally involved in the ring. Anthony Joshua's done that a couple of times in his career. He done it against Dillian Whyte, and he done it against Jarrell Miller. The Jarrell Miller fight never came off, but still, that can be dangerous because then the fighter will go away from their game plan. That is one thing Anthony Joshua will need to try and avoid in this Tyson Fury fight, to not get emotionally involved, because he doesn't really need to. Of course, Tyson Fury is going to pull his strings and try and get inside his head. He does it with every opponent he faces, but if AJ wants to have a chance, he cannot allow himself to deviate from his game plan and start looking to try and hurt Tyson Fury, because then that will play to Tyson Fury's favour, because that is what Fury wants him to do. That is what he wanted Vladimir Klitschko to do. Now, considering we're talking about Callum Smith and Canelo and their fight, Billy Joe Saunders has made an assessment of the reason behind Callum Smith taking the fight, and he believes it's purely for finances. This is what he had to say. I didn't watch Canelo vs Smith. I felt like taking the fight on 5 or 6 weeks notice was a sign of, I'm gonna go in there, get some money, and I'll see you all later. Do I blame Smith? I don't know, but he didn't go in there with a winning mentality. So that is what Billy Joe Saunders has had to say about that fight between Callum Smith and Canelo. He believes that he took it on 5 or 6 weeks notice. I think it was a little bit more than that, more like 8 weeks, so he had a little bit more time, but it was kind of short notice if you consider the magnitude of the fight and the significance in his career. Billy Joe Saunders got the fight, a week ago or maybe a few days ago. Not necessarily confirmed and announced, but the deal has apparently been done for May. So Canelo will fight in February against Andy Yildirim, then go and fight Billy Joe Saunders in May. So Billy Joe Saunders has more time to prepare, even though this is the fight he has always wanted, and the one he has likely been preparing for anyway, but still, it's better to know that they are actually fighting instead of training for Canelo, not knowing whether they are going to get the fight or not. That is a luxury that Canelo has. He can have these names lined up and say, you're the lucky one, you get to fight me, but it's 8-10 weeks notice, and you have to deal with it. So that is a luxury that Canelo has, but something he's earned himself because he's in that position. So did Callum Smith have that kind of situation where he was on the short notice and he went in there for some money and not necessarily for the glory? Well, I wouldn't say that Callum Smith is someone who is after the money instead of the glory. He doesn't necessarily strike me as someone who does go for the money instead of that. Otherwise, why would he take the Canelo fight at such a short notice? Because that was his only chance. He knew that if it went round to May time, it was likely going to be Billy Joe Saunders or, say, Caleb. If they couldn't make Callum Smith get in there at short notice, he wasn't going to get the fight, because that's just the way it is. Canelo has put himself in a position where he can pick and choose his opponents as and when he wishes and give them the notice that pleases him at best. So that is what he done with Callum Smith. He was able to pick him at the notice he wanted. He probably knew that he was fighting Callum Smith 3 or 4 weeks before Callum Smith even knew it. But what is Callum Smith supposed to do? He cannot just allow this opportunity to pass him by, so he must take it. That is why he did, not because of the money, but because this was his only chance to fight Canelo and have a shot at greatness. Yes, he fell short, but he fell short chasing glory instead of chasing a pay package. I believe that for Callum Smith. Now, Billy Joe Saunders is in a better position. Obviously, he has more months to prepare himself, a full camp for just Canelo, knowing that that is who he is fighting, because he is fighting him in May. It's currently February, so he is in a better position. But just because Billy Joe Saunders has more notice than Callum Smith, it doesn't mean that Billy Joe Saunders wants the glory instead of the money, more so than what Callum Smith did. Smith didn't go in there for a pay package. Obviously, there is a big pay package when you fight someone like Canelo, and that is going to be enticing, but that was never the reason. And if it was, I don't know whether he would have taken the fight anyway, because he could just keep his undefeated record and keep earning money because he has the World Championships. So what he could have done is waited for Canelo to fight, say, Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb. If he wins those fights, then he has the piece of the puzzle missing from that super middleweight division. He could have gotten a lot more money doing it that way by waiting for Canelo to clean up at super middleweight, then come looking for him. So if it was just about the business and just about earning that kind of money, then he would have done that instead of taking the big opportunity when it came his way, because that is what he craved so much. But guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Pick your favourite subject and leave your thoughts on it in the comments below. Also leave a like and a subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.